governance index for making this happen. So I will be sharing my screen. Let me. Just a moment. I hope everyone could see my screen now. Can you?
Yes.
Okay, good. So basically, what I did was to take a look at the proposed bill and try to extract areas of contention so that during discussions we could know exactly where to focus on. And again, my usual disclaimer: the opinion I express here are mine. Is not affiliated to any other organization. Okay. So we're looking at COVID series. So what I basically do at times is to take a quick look at what the current indices are saying. And if you look at this graph, you could see the number of tests that are currently happening as at May 4th. And Nigeria is at 18,000. South Africa is 257,000. Pakistan, which I usually compare because of the necessary things that we have in common in terms of GDP, environment, and all that, they are at 212. So it simply means that Nigeria still have a lot to do when it comes to testing. And I feel that if the NCDC is having challenges, which I know they are, they have to come up and let us know exactly what the challenges are. Why in a population of close to 200 million, our testing is this low? Okay, so let's move straight. Now the current Infectious Disease Act, although a lot of people call it Vaccination Bill, but what is actually called Infectious Diseases Act, is modeled along the Ministry of the Singapore Ministry of Health Infectious Disease Act. You know, during my research, when going through those documents, I found out there is a lot of correlation between those two, and so we'll be looking at what the Singapore government has and then what we have done here in Nigeria. Okay. So one of the contentious issue is, well, based on the gossips we hear, one of the things we had is that the bill is giving the government power to vaccinate everybody, whether they like it or not. So what I've also done is to extract the relevant section of the bill that does that, that said that, so that we can look at it clearly. And if you check here, you would understand that the one in black are the contents of the Nigeria Infectious Bill, the Nigeria Infectious Disease Bill, and this is a sniped copy I sniped off from the Singapore Infectious Disease Act. And one of the things that got my attention was a verbatim copy of the word for word. I mean, nothing changes. And the power to order certain persons to undergo vaccination could only happen in an outbreak situation or when there is a suspected outbreak of any infectious disease. Now, outbreak situation, we will know. A suspected outbreak now will sit on the interpretation of the Director General of NCDC. So it says that in an outbreak or suspected outbreak of any infectious disease in any area in Nigeria, the Director General may, by order, direct any person or class of person not protected or vaccinated against the disease to undergo vaccination or other prophylaxis within such a period as may be specified in the order. In addition to the order conferred by the subsection 1, where it appears to the Director that an outbreak of an infectious disease is in an area in Nigeria is imminent, it is necessary or expedient to do so for the securing of public safety, the Director may by order direct any person or class of person not protected to be vaccinated against that infectious disease to undergo vaccination or other policies within such period as may be specified in the order. So that is exactly the word in the proposed Infectious Disease Act. And then if you look at my order at my right hand, you will see a snippet copy from the Singapore Infectious Disease Act. It is word for word, even number for number. You see Article 47.1, and here you see 47.1. If you read it, it's word for word. Okay. Then the next one is a vaccination. He said no vaccination shall be carried out except by a medical practitioner or by a nurse or any other suitably trained person employed by or working under the supervision of a medical practitioner. So he spelled out how the vaccination could be carried out. And when you compare this with what you have with the Singapore infectious disease. It is word for word, it is verbatim. Okay. Now the third one is how the enforcement powers of the center in dealing in part of the center in just give me a moment. You can have a lot of blame. Part of the center in dealing with outbreaks and suspected outbreaks of infectious disease. So he stated the powers that the Director General has for the purpose of investigating into any outbreak or suspected outbreak of an infectious disease, or for the purpose of preventing the spread of possible outbreak of an infectious disease. The Director General or any authorized health officer may at any time, without warrant and with such force as may be necessary, enter, inspect and search any premises, or store, board, inspect and search any conveyance in which the outbreak or suspected outbreak has taken place. You can take samples, you can take substance, you can take anything just to give him the so now he doesn't need a warrant, he doesn't need to go to court. I mean, he can, once he suspects, he can send out the soldiers to make this happen. Okay. Now if you compare with the Singapore Infectious Disease Act, it's verbatim, word for word. Okay. So the next one is the extraordinary powers in relation to emergency measures. So the director may, with the approval of the minister, formulate and implement emergency measures for the control of an infectious disease in any area, and such measures shall be published as said, before implementation. Now the word is, it has to be published in the Gazette before implementation. Now if you compare it with what we have with the Singaporean extraordinary powers in relation to manpower, is verbatim. Singapore says $10,000. I'm sure what they basically did was to convert equivalent of $10,000 to 1 million naira. Okay, word for word. I'm not aware of the exchange rate. Exception. So the minister may, subject to such conditions and for such period or periods as he thinks fit, exempt any person, premises, vessel. That means the minister can say, look, do not vaccinate this particular area, or do not do this. No, he can do that as exception. Okay. To exercise power, the powers of the president under this act shall be exercisable by him or any minister designated by him in that behalf, and references in the act to the governor. You know, these are the powers of the president to make that happen. Now, one of the things that was in the Singaporean bill that is not here is other written law not affected. The Singaporean said, except so far as may be expressly provided in this act, nothing in this act shall be construed so as to limit or affect in any way the provisions of any other written law. So what that means is that the Singaporeans also brought about the other laws. So if their disease act goes against other law, you know, the relevant laws will take effect. But that is not in the proposed infectious act for the Nigerians. Okay. Now, what is missing? Now, the Singaporean Act made a case for a national public health research, where the director may, if he considers it to be in the public interest, from time to time undertake or facilitate any research that the director thinks is necessary to increase or acquire new knowledge on, or to discover or create new or improve material, devices, processes, or products for the detection, prevention, and treatment of any infectious disease, any other disease which is or which the appropriate minister. So what this basically means is that for the Singaporean Infectious Disease Act, they don't need to wait for an infection to happen. Okay, there will be an ongoing national public health research funded by their government, that would make research and probably also try to find a prevention mechanism or treatment for infectious disease. That particular one is obviously missing in the Nigerian Infectious Disease Act. Okay. So now the Singaporean government actually made a gazette of a temporary measures to tackle COVID-19. And this was done on Thursday, April 9, 2020. If you check at the gazette that they made provisions for the fact that the lockdown and any other measures taken by government might cause people to maybe violate their contractual agreement, go into insolvency, and all that. So they put in place measure by law that will protect you as an individual. If I've got into a contractual agreement and by virtue of the fact that the country or the state was locked down, I was unable to execute it, I will be exonerated, and then I need to renegotiate that. So they made a gazette that handles and quite other things, including insolvency, restructuring of loans, and all that. Quite very detailed. I do not think we have such. Maybe if we do, the relevant personnel in this room can bring that to our attention. Now, what I also did was to look at the World Health Organization. There's a write-up that they made on advancing the right to health, the vital rule of law. And I have tried to extract the main relevant that says that public health laws should also include procedural rights to protect the interests of individuals subject to treatment orders. So if the Director General or the Minister makes an order for a compulsory treatment of vaccination of a particular group of people, what they are saying that the public health law should also make procedural, to include procedural rights to protect the interests of individuals. This may include the requirement for a court to review each compulsory treatment order within a defined period of time. Public health officials must ensure that laws authorizing treatment without consent are never used to discriminate against or to marginalize vulnerable individuals or groups. This is a recommendation of the World Health Organization. I do not see that in the current Infectious Disease Act. Once that order is given, there's no way that order can be. Let's assume the order is given and is effected. Okay, there's no way for you to go back and examine that order to see if it is the right order or if it was given with malicious intent and all.
Also, can you please let's quickly round up?
Okay, so that's basically what that is. So the next the next areas was the powers that the Infectious Disease Act gave to the president. There is no mention. There is a mention of governor, but the power basically resides on the president. There is no governor, no ministers, no anybody the president assigns could actually execute that power. I do not know the role of governors in this. And when you look at the Singapore that Nigeria has copied, they are running a parliamentary system. They have a ceremonial president, prime ministers and cabinet, and a unicameral parliament. In their own Infectious Disease Act, there is no role for their president. It is the Minister of Health that does that, and then he reports to the president. And when you compare statistics between the Singapore and Nigeria, Singapore has a population of just 5.6 million. With a per capita of $64,000 US, while Nigeria have a population of 195 million with a per capita of $2,000 US. You could see what the massive range is. So in conclusion, if you look at Singapore, with the way they are currently set up, they are Nigeria in 1960, where we have a parliamentary kind of system with cabinet ministers giving powers to executive without any role for the president. But the way it is in Nigeria, the president is the almighty, has all that it takes to do. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you very much, Marcel. Thank you for that presentation. Now, I will be